your time, and I hope you were able to get a few snacks at the back of the room. This training will only be about 45 minutes, so we're not going to take a scheduled break. But for those that are here in the conference room, if you do need to use the facilities, out the door to the right, there's 2 restrooms, so feel free to use those as you need. And for those guys that are here on Teams today, if you don't mind, go ahead and make sure that you are muted. Fantastic. Okay. So today I'm here to give you guys a training on a new tool that we've created. I know that you guys are all managers and supervisors. You're very familiar with the policy, the time and attendance policy, where employees accrue points for unscheduled occurrences, right? Okay, so we have, with leadership's blessing, created a tool that is going to make your life so much easier. Okay, so you will be able to input your points, these unscheduled occurrences, into a tracking system that's going to do all the work for you. It's also going to give you the ability to snap it to your employees. And one of the things that in my needs assessment that we found is the employees are asking for a more consistent and transparent way to keep up with their points. So that's what we've developed. Any questions so far? No. Okay. Excited. Okay, so here we go with the presentation. This is a standardized tracking solution, so I've named it STS for short. And like I said, this is going to allow you ease of use. It's going to make your lives a lot easier, a lot faster. And so as you can see here, the visual represents the time and attendance. So let's get to the next thing. Going the wrong way. Okay, so as managers and supervisors, first, I just want to set the agenda. So we're going to have 3 objectives today. The first objective is going to be to create your roster. That is like the brain of the template. Once your roster is in place, which is all of your employees that fall within your department, the rest of it does a lot of the work for you. The second objective is to input the daily occurrences. And as we know, there are a variety of different occurrences that come into play, such as a call-in, a missed punch, a tardy. Those are probably the most common 30. And then also if somebody clocks in prior to their shift start unscheduled, or if they clock out after their shift and it's not approved. So at the end of the training, the last objective at the end of the training, if you guys are going to be able to use this tool, you're going to be able to use it successfully and accurately, and you're going to be able to share this with your employees. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to create our roster. So as you know, as managers and supervisors, you have a variety of number of employees under you, right? And so within the system, this is the very first thing. So think of it, this is your brain, right? And so in this roster, you're going to have the ability to add new employees, take out employees who've left, and you know, obviously keep the employees in there that are still here, right? We want them to still be here. Okay. So for example, this is what a roster is going to look like. So this template is located on the W drive. It is in the Imaging Services tab under Attendance Tracker. They've been created so that the name of your department is the name of the template. So easy to find for you guys. And this is just an example of what a filled out roster is going to look like. So as you can see, you're going to include your employee's last name, their first name. If you'd like to include their employee ID, you can, but it's not necessary. What is necessary is email address. So that is going to be what actually auto-populates into the next tab. And then if you want to include your cost center, you're more than welcome to do that too. Okay, any questions so far? No? Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to jump into our first activity. So if you look in your packet, the very first sheet should be an activity sheet, and hopefully you have a pen with you. I have some extra sheets if for some reason you didn't get one. So we're going to have a little fun. We're going to test our skills. So what I'd like for you to do is to take 3 of your employees and go ahead and fill out the roster just like you'd be doing if you were doing it online. Okay, so I'll give you about 5-7 minutes. Take your time. And just keep in mind, 3 of those columns are very important. 2 of them are optional. How's everybody doing? You know, just a couple more minutes?
1 more minute.
Got it.
Almost there.
Perfect.
Done.
I'm
done.
Oh, thank you, Debbie. Okay.
Overachievers.
I forget it.
Oh, yeah. Writing out that email takes a while.
Pin down, make you know that you're ready. Okay. How about you guys out there on Teams? Are y'all ready?
I'm ready.
Yes, ma'am, I'm ready.
Fantastic. Okay. So to begin, I'm going to ask for a volunteer. Now, remember, we're here to learn together. There is no wrong answer. That's the reason we're doing the training today. So please don't be shy. So would anyone like to
volunteer?
Okay, Debbie. Okay, Debbie, go ahead and tell us the name of the employee and how you went ahead and filled that into the roster.
So I used Adrienne Everett. So I put her last name, Everett, and then her first name, Adrienne. On her, I did have to make sure that I did put her correct email address because her email address is adrian.wade@utsouthwestern.edu.
Fantastic. So before I ask if we're all in agreement or somebody did it differently, Debbie brought up a very good idea or a very good point. If you have any employees that may have a different last name, it hasn't been converted, you want to make sure that it is the email that is in the system. And as you know, we have several employees. We have lots of Kim Jacksons. Some of those are going to be Kim 2, Kim 3, Kim 4 Jackson. So make sure that you're putting those in correctly. So anyone out in the Teams world or here do it differently? We're in agreement that Debbie did it correctly?
Yeah.
I added the employee ID.
Okay, that's fantastic. Yes, you can add in the employee ID. Like I said, that is optional, but we know, Shane, you're an overachiever over here. So, Debbie, you're absolutely correct. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody have any questions regarding this class? This is going to be probably the most simple process that you're going to go through. The second activity is going to take a little bit longer, but give you an opportunity to ask some questions if you have them. Pretty simple. Charlie, any questions?
No,
You're good?
this time.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, we're going to move on. Okay, so that second step using the tracking tool is inputting the daily unscheduled occurrences. This part's going to take a little bit longer. Feel good about it because there's a lot of different ways that it can happen. But here we have one of the most common examples is the call-in, right? We also have, like I mentioned, is the missed punch. So the person comes in, maybe they left their badge in their car. They come to you a little bit later. Charlie, I forgot to clock in. It's considered a missed punch. Their shift starts at 8. They're stuck in traffic. Unfortunately, that is a tardy. And so they were supposed to start at 8. Maybe they clock in at 8:07. So they are tardy. So moving forward a little bit further here, this is going to give you a great example of what that template's going to look like on the W drive. Okay, so here we put a few examples. You may be in my example list, but you're going to have the name of the individual. And as you noticed here, there is a little drop-down box. That drop-down is going to populate from your roster. So all of your employees that you have put in, when you hit the drop-down box, they will be there for you. So that makes it even easier. Today we'll be handwriting in old school because this is a writing activity, but that will be there for you. The occurrence also has a drop-down box. When you hover over the line, you are going to see those options that we talked about. Clocking in late, a missed punch, a call-in. If somebody clocks in 15 minutes for their shift and they haven't approved that with you, and the same thing if they clock out late, okay? No matter which type of occurrence it is, you're always going to input the date. So the date that they were late, the date that they missed punch, the date that they called in sick. Okay, so for the return date, yes, Charlie, question.
I have a question. So I know it's always at the manager or supervisor can approve the tardy or forgive the tardy or something. Like if it was a wreck on the highway and the manager knew the employee was trying to get there. So you are manually inputting the data on this sheet though.
Correct.
So if you put that there as tardy, is it some way you can like?
So you're going to be able to track it later, so you'll be able to see it.
But you don't want that employee to get the point.
So no, if as a manager at your discretion, if you decide that there was a huge ice storm and as essential employees were required to come in and your employees were here, they were 15 minutes late, unfortunately. We were all late the other week. Then you're not going to input that into the system. Okay. So what I would recommend that you do is in our My Time system where they do use the clock in and out, there is the option for you to go in and comment. So you're going to right click that. You're going to comment approved tardy.
But just don't place it on your.
Yes. So this is going to be only for those daily unscheduled occurrences that are outside of the, the one-offs that we have, like ice storms that happened a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Okay. Great question. So was that your question?
No, I was just saying that's a very good question.
Excellent question.
Yeah.
Great question. So the return date. So if somebody clocks in early, clocks in late, misses a punch, or is tardy, they're still coming to work that same day, right? So for example, you can see here Monica Morgan, she missed a punch. That was on 2/3. You do not have to fill in what that return date is because you would essentially be putting the same date twice. So the system is going to recognize that that is a mispunch. So you do not have to add that. In the comment section, here is where you can put in any type of comment. I recommend being as detailed as possible because you will get those employees 6 months from now that says, well, I don't remember why I was late. And this will be able that we'll show you later. You'll be able to provide this information to your employees. So it's a good reminder for you and your employees exactly why they were late or why they missed a punch. The difference here is Shannon, I used you as an example today. Shannon was absent and she was absent on 2/3 and she returned on 2/6. So we all know that we have those employees that maybe call in on a Thursday, they're back on a Friday, but they may call in on a Thursday and they may not come back to Monday, right? So that's why it's extremely important that you're using the accurate return date. Okay, so here in this sense, you are going to put both of those dates and you are going to say exactly what that is. She called in, she had car trouble. She chose not to come to work because, she had car trouble. She couldn't get the tire fixed, so she just didn't come in. You're going to notice this is in here twice. So Shannon is on line 3 and 4. So for those comments to populate in the summary of what you're going to provide your employee, you have to double put it in. If you do not put that comment section, you will not get comments. Comments is what's going to generate that. If you don't want comments, you don't have to put it in, but I would highly recommend that you use the comment section. Okay, so then you can see, for example, I used myself. Sydney was late. I was tardy. So for a tardy, you want to calculate the minutes that they're late. Okay, it doesn't mean anything more except that we need to have record of how many minutes they're late. So you're going to say Sydney was tardy on January 30th. She was 12 minutes tardy, and you're going to put tardy. So in those comments, the most common way that you may want to consider putting your comments so that as managers we can be very consistent is using the word call in, sick, tardy, missed punch. And if you want to add anything else to that, feel free to do that. So a good example that somebody happened the other day with one of my team members is they were here, they started their shift at 8 o'clock. At 9:45, they got a call, it was an emergency, they had to leave. So technically they left within 2 hours of their shift, so that's a half a point. So in that situation, I would have had to say that they left, they came back on this day, left early, and I would use the greater the less than 2 hour symbol so that they know, because that's a very common question that we get from employees. Well, what's the policy? CT just asked me 15 minutes ago. What's the policy on that? If you're less than 2 hours, it's a half a point. If it's more than 2 hours, it's a full point. Okay, so also too, in the template, you're gonna see we have added those comments for you, right? So we have highlighted the absence and the comments so that you'll know that those two go together. But here you go. In this section here, you'll see that these have 5-digit numbers at the bottom. Your sheet is going to be completely blank. And as you enter those occurrences, it's going to take your date and your return date, and it's going to calculate the day. So when I created this at that time was February 3rd. At that point, it was when I put it in on 2/6, she had been late for 3 minutes. Make sense? So this is going to calculate how many days it's been for you. As you guys all know, as manager supervisors, this is on a 12-month rolling. So what will happen when you go back every couple weeks and you're updating this, you'll see these numbers start to get larger. And at some point, they will say 366, 367, 400 days. And at that point, you will remove those from the spreadsheet because we only accrue points on a 12-month basis. I know this is a lot to take in. This is going to be the most difficult part of the template. The rest is going to do it for you. Do you guys have any questions so far?
No questions.
No? Any questions out there in the Teams world?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am, I'm good.
Okay,
Good.
fantastic. Okay, so in your packet is a blank sheet. Looks just like this. It is the data sheet. This is going to give you an example. It should match what is here in the presentation. You'll see we've given you the red arrows just as a little help today so that you know what to input. Also in your packet, you're going to have 2 sheets and they're examples of unscheduled occurrences. So you're going to want to pull that out. They're going to look like this up here. There's also going to be a February calendar for your reference. So if you can pull out sheets 14, 15, and 16, we're going to really have a little fun with this part because it is the most difficult. We're going to spend a little extra time here. And the sample unscheduled occurrences are going to look very familiar to you. Your employees will have done some of these before. Your names may be in some of these, just for some fun today. So what I'd like you to do is to each individually choose 3 different occurrences. So maybe a call-in, maybe a tardy, maybe a missed punch, whatever you like. Read through the scenarios, have fun, be creative, and go ahead and fill that into the data sheet.
3 of them.
Pick 3 of them, 3 different ones. So you will need, about 5 minutes to read through them. Guys out in the teams, are you guys clear on the directions? You have your sheets in front of you?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'll give you, 7, maybe close to 10 minutes on this because I want you to definitely read through them. There are dates included. So the February calendar is there for you so that you can make sure that you're accurate in putting in your dates.
Can Greg spot and put that Charlie to Greg's?
Okay, we can switch you, Charlie, to Greg. In just 3, Shannon. You too, Debbie, just 3.
Got it.
Could you go to the previous slide so we can see the, that row to the
The
right?
example sheet?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Now, the examples up here are not in your sample, so you will have to create your own. But yes, you do have those examples there, Jessica, for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are some of these sample occurrences looking familiar?
Yeah.
You're smiling, Patrick.
I like doing that.
You can take over all mine.
I don't like that.
And I know that this can be daunting because some of you guys have 50, 60 employees under you. Some have less, like myself, with only 7. So this is the most time consuming part of using the tool, but I promise it will be worth it.
I have a question.
Yes.
So like, say on this example sheet that you gave us where Shannon and then myself, we called in sick. Now, how can you put like on one line absence and then the second line comments, but they're kind of the same?
Because so if it's a call in, then you want to use the absence and the comment. So the comment line is going to be what's going to auto-populate the comments that you put in the comment section. So
Okay.
putting it in twice is required for you to be able to see the comments. And you don't have to do it, but I recommend that you do.
Okay,
I have a new one.
thank you.
Yeah. That's why I brought extra sheets, just in case.
Should have brought pencils.
Patrick's fast.
You done?
You picked the easy ones.
I'm not a perfectionist.
He's a pro at this.
I just get it done.
I will say that I did have fun developing these occurrences.
When they're late clocking out, like an unapproved late clock out, what do you call that?
It is a clock out on the template. It will say clock out. So if you're
Okay.
hitting the arrow on the occurrence, it's going to give you a clock out late, clock in early.
Okay.
Is what it's going to say. And those are going to be just like a miss punch. That's how you're going to fill them in as a miss punch.
So, for example, 1, the miss punch, would I still need a second line to say why it's a miss punch?
No, only on
Why it's
call-ins.
Only on call.
Only if somebody calls in sick, that's the most common calling in sick. But if they call in for any reason, they're not coming to work that day. That's where you're going to want to have those comments.
Okay.
Good questions.
Simple.
Please feel free to have more snacks. I know I'm doing this over your lunch hour, so. Just remember, while we are filling these out individually, this is a group training, so we will have discussion. So if you're unsure, fill it out to your best ability, and we will make sure before you leave this training that you are successful as to how to input these.
Do our results have to go to your class? Like, do you have to turn them out worksheet?
No,
Oh, good, because they can't read.
it's okay. As long as you can read what you wrote, we're good.
Did 2.
She said 3.
Well, the samples were pretty fun. So, they take a few minutes to read and look at the dates to make sure you're inputting them correctly. So we scheduled a little extra time for this activity. How are you guys doing out there in Teams World?
Well, I'm like Patrick. I've got mine done,
Okay. How
but
are
I'm not as fast as Patrick.
Denise, Christy,
Uh,
we're doing okay?
Yeah, doing well. This is great.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks.
Doing okay. I feel like a couple of these examples are real.
Have it out.
They are all real.
Have it out, Robin.
I have experienced or heard of every single one of these that was included, so.
Robin Eastland, she likes to
Yeah,
come
her,
in late.
we have it out
stay
for
late.
her.
Yes, yes. Sorry, Robin, had to use you as an example today.
Well, Shannon,
Always happy to be the example.
Sydney enjoyed putting our names down on here, Shannon.
I will have to say I did.
Charlie's still back.
I know. So clocking in early would be considered what?
Clocking in
clocking.
early and unscheduled would be this, you would log it the same way you would a missed punch, except you would say clock in early.
Now, if someone clocks in early without permission from their manager, do they get like dinged for that?
Yes. So that is one of the 5 occurrences, the most 5 common occurrences. The 3 most common are going to be the call-in, the missed punch, and the tardy. But we have seen in the past that employees, maybe their shift starts at 8 and they just think, oh, you know, I'm going to clock in at 7:42. And when you clock in at 7:42, they've now just added 15 minutes of extra time. So instead of working an 8-hour, they've now worked an 8-hour and 8-hour and 15 minutes. And so unless the manager has said, yes, we need you to come on the clock sooner because we're extremely busy, then we consider that just sort of taking extra time that's not needed. So yes, that would be in the occurrence when you hit that drop down button arrow, you will see that option to log that as well. In the Teams world, are you guys finished or need a few more minutes?
I'm finished.
Okay, everybody in here finished?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So again, you can unmute yourself if you'd like. I'd just like somebody to volunteer and give us their step-by-step for one of their examples.
Okay.
Okay, Kelly?
Okay, so I chose the scenario with Mary. So I would put her name under the name column there. Under the occurrence, I choose tardy from the drop down. And under the date, I put the date she was tardy, February 10th. And then I would go over to I wouldn't put anything in the return date. I would leave that blank. And I would go over to the minutes late column and put in 4 minutes because she clocked in 4 minutes late for her 8:30 shift. And then in the comments, I would just put tardy.
Absolutely, fantastic. Anybody else, anybody do it differently for a tardy? That's a very common one. So if you didn't do it exactly like Kelly said, just, you know, go ahead and let us know so we can answer any questions that you may have. Great job, Kelly.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on. So would anyone like to volunteer? Second volunteer?
I'll volunteer.
Okay, Daniel?
So I used the example of Greg, who went to the concert Thursday night and didn't feel like coming into work the next day. I pull his name from the drop-down menu. Then the occurrence, the first line is going to be the absence. The first date is going to be the date of the occurrence, the 24th. It does say in the example he's coming back on the 15th, the following day, so I put the return date as the 25th. And then in the comments, I put call in and I just put sick. But then I did add the second line using Greg's name from the drop-down menu, and under the occurrence is comments, so that those comments would actually be linked and tracked according to that absence.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Did you like the idea he went to a concert the night before and just decided not to come to work the next day?
No.
How do you
Greg-
know that?
Greg tends to do that.
How do you know that
I know
Pretty
Greg.
open.
He's pretty open.
You probably got Taylor Swift.
employees
together.
cheer?
Yeah, it was probably Taylor Swift for Greg, so.
Yeah.
How about out there, you guys that are on Teams? How did you guys do with this one? Do you agree with Kelly?
Yes, I agree with both Kelly and Daniel.
Oh, sorry, Kelly and Daniel, sorry. Okay, Fantastic. What about one more? Did anyone choose a call-in? That's very, very, oh, no, Daniel did a call-in. What about a missed punch? Did anyone pick a missed punch?
I did.
How'd you do, Charlie?
Oh, Sally. She's the one that forgot the badge in the car, so she came in on time. She started her shift, which I don't know how she did because she didn't clock in. Then she realized 20 minutes into the shift, she had forgot her badge. So she comes to you. So I, of course, put her name as Sally Pat, since I don't know her last name. And I put Miss Punch. I put the date of 2/14/23. Return date is the same date, so I put the 2/14/23. So 0. No, I put 20 minutes late.
Okay,
Well, it's not late, so I put 0 minutes, correct?
correct.
Okay. And in comments, I just put forgot
Forgot
badge or something.
Missed punch, forgot badge, however you would like to do it.
Because in that one, do you have to use the
Your comments,
calculated comments, or can I
No.
just type in what I want to?
your comments, you can type in anything that you want.
Okay.
So if you want to put a little bit of
It
detail,
has a
lot of
drop down
detail,
box, but I can,
but it is fillable.
okay.
Yes, it is fillable for that. And you bring up a great point. So with the missed punch, you think about that person possibly being tardy because their shift started at 8 and they they started work at 8, but at 8:20, they're telling you, hey, Charlie, I forgot my badge in the car. So that is technically a missed punch. So you do not have to worry about the minute.
Okay.
The minutes will only be relevant for a tardy.
Okay.
Okay.
But still 0.5.
It's still 0.5. Absolutely. How about you guys out there in teams? How did you guys do with this one? Or how do you feel about the way Charlie put this one in? Any questions? In agreement? Disagree?
Debbie, you better agree.
I agree.
Sammy has a question.
That's a question.
Okay, we have a question? Okay, no. The hand must have gone back down. It's okay. Okay. So this is just a good example of some of the situations you're going to have. You're going to have examples that probably aren't on the sheet. Our employees do get creative when they come to work and when they don't come to work. But hopefully this makes you feel a little bit better. So just to sort of go through this one more time, spend a little extra time here. Do you have any questions, any concerns about putting them in? Remember, the name and the occurrence is going to be a drop-down box. Jessica, question?
Okay, so I did the scenario with Robin, clocking in late and then staying late, to get her full 8.
Yes.
So if she came to me and said, hey, I was tardy, can I stay an extra 15 minutes to get my full 8? Am I okay to just give her the tardy and not a missed punch for the late clock out?
Correct.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. So in that situation, she's trying to get her full 8 hours because because Robin was 15 minutes late. That time clock has already gotten her out of her 15 minutes window of when she's going to clock in, right? So I think you said 8, maybe she clocked in at 8:15.
Mhm.
So now she's going to short herself 15 minutes of her 8-hour day. So if she is like, if she comes to you, Robin comes to you, Jessica, and says, I'm willing to stay 15 minutes late if you need me. And Jessica, you said, absolutely, we're extremely busy today, go ahead. Then she's gonna be able to get that 8 hours. If you do not need her, then you would say, no, go ahead and clock out at your original time. And that day she would only clock 7 hours and 45 minutes. Okay, so that's gonna be up to the manager's discretion. Any questions on the teams?
No, ma'am. Denise has her hand up with a question.
Oh, okay. Yes, Denise.
So I was looking at some of the drop-down other options, and there's one that says clocking off unit. What does that mean?
Clocking off unit is basically the late clock out. And so these templates are going to be adjustable. So we have the ability to change what we call absence, comment, early clock in, late clock out, and missed punch and tardy. We have the ability to change those. So that was just one of the templates we were trying with another way to schedule it, to label it, so that to say it would be easier. And I think per my meetings with leadership, I think that they have agreed that we will use the 5 that's over here on the side: the absence, comment, early clock in, late clock out, missed punch, and tardy. Does that answer your question, Denise?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so those are our 2 activities. So next I'm going to show you the hard work is done. Next I'm going to show you what the template's going to do for you. Okay. Well,
No, you're right. Went back a page to show us.
oh, I'm sorry, didn't I?
Go the other way. Charlie had asked you to go back a
Oh.
page to.
Oh, that's right.
Jessica.
That was, that's okay. That's okay. Technology, right? So, okay. So now, once you have inserted your occurrences, there's the next tab. You have your roster tab, your data tab, and you have your summary tab. So when you click your summary tab, this is what you're going to see. So for example, you're going to see here that Sydney was tardy 1 day, and so it's going to populate in the tardy column. If somebody was absent, like Debbie Morgan, it's going to populate right here in the absence, and so on. So for example, Monica Morgan, she missed her punch. She was the one that left the badge in the car. Here is her missed punches. Okay, so this is where the system actually does all of the work for you. Okay, so what's even neater is when somebody gets to a disciplinary action. So we all are aware of the policy at 4 points. That is a documented counseling. So it's a verbal with your employee, and you're going to be asking them, you know, what's been going on? I noticed you've got 4 points. Is there something we can do to work with you? You know, maybe it's a childcare situation, and as a manager, you have a little flexibility there. As that employee gets up to 8 points, that's our written warning. Okay. So as you can see here, for the verbal, it's going to match. So those 4 points, that color automatically changes for you. So it's going to become yellow, right? And that's going to allow you to understand you're under the verbal. So once you give them that verbal, you're going to insert the date that you gave them that verbal. Okay. And then, for example, here, I believe that was Shannon on the bottom. She's at 8.5 points. So yeah. So at that point, she has gone. She has gone into a written warning. So at this point, the manager, Patrick's going to sit down with Shannon, and she's going to say, look, now you're sort of in a bad area. We need you to sign this sheet of paper acknowledging that you do have these 8 points. And if you were, and again, you will have already given them a verbal at 4 points. So you have the date on 1/12 is when Shannon got her verbal, and then you're going to document when that written is. Yes, Charlie.
So if Patrick forgets when they're at 4 to give them a verbal, and Shannon gets up to 10, can he just go straight to the final, or
No.
he's got to go
No.
back and see?
Yeah. So there is a part in here where we're going to show you how you have the ability to be transparent, consistent with your employees, and show them. So they are going to every 2 weeks they are going to get a copy of how many points that they have. And the summary sheet is where you're going to really want to show that, because the most common question we get is, okay, I have 4 points. What are the dates? What are the dates? Because they know that they're going to roll off in 12 months. So we're going to give you a little hint on how you can do that. Here, if you had somebody that reached 11 points, that's going to be their final documented. 1 more point, we do terminate. So hopefully at this point, I didn't put any examples because we obviously don't want any of these people to be terminated that are up here.
I do have a question.
Yes, Daniel.
On that very top line,
Mhm.
it's got a tardy as 1, but in the total column, it's got a 0.5. Is that because one of them has fallen off?
No.
No.
Great question. So what it's going to do here, it's going to tell you this is sort of how many times, and then the system's going to calculate how many points that is.
One.
So for example, the first person had a tardy. Tardy is a half a point.
Right, correct.
So it's going to do all that math for you. Great
Yeah.
question, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, very, very good question.
Occurrences, not, okay. No.
Yeah, so these are going to be your occurrences, and then it's going to calculate
Got it.
those points. So I didn't do an example here, but if we used, you know, somebody who had an absence, a tardy, and a missed punch, then that's going to calculate to 2 points. An absence is 1, a tardy is a half, a missed punch is a half. So now they have 2 points. Any other questions? Okay, so here is how you can communicate to your employees. One of the things that we have heard is that our employees would like to be better aware of the points that they have. They'd like to be better aware of the dates that they're occurring. And so in that summary sheet, you will be able to take the sheet number and you will be able to click the number. So for this is an example of Shannon. So when you click the 7, you're going to get this detail. This is a summary detail. So you're going to be able to see that Shannon was late. She was absent. So she was absent on the 7th. She came back on the 8th. Then she was absent on the 3rd and she didn't come back till the 6th. That is still only 1 point, right? 1 point per occurrence when it comes to call-ins. Doesn't matter how many days that they're out. Obviously, if they're more than 3, then we have to go through the FMLA system. But this is going to show you over here, Shannon has 2 points. She has 2 absences. And here's where you're going to see those comments. So on 2-7, she called in because she was ill. And then on 2-3, she called in because she had car trouble. So she was the one that went to Discount Tire to get her car fixed and never came to work that day. Okay. She showed up. She showed up a couple more days. So what you have, we all have the snipping tool available to us. You have the opportunity to snip this and email it directly to your employee, right? This system does have an automated that every 2 weeks, you'll be able to send this out automatically to all your employees. But I can tell you right off the bat, the first thing you're going to hear is, Kelly, what were the dates that I was sick? What were the dates? So knowing that you have this tool is great. This actually already came up this morning with the CT group, asking questions about how many points they had. Okay.
They always have questions.
Oh, it is CT, yes. Okay, guys out there on Teams, does this make sense to you guys? Do you have any questions about how you can access the shortcut to get to the summary?
No questions. This will be very helpful.
Great.
Yes,
Great.
very helpful. Thank you.
Looks
Great.
really good. I like it.
Thank you. And what this is going to do, it's going to allow, we have over 10 managers and we have a number of supervisors in the imaging department. This is going to allow us to all be very consistent and very transparent with our employees so that we don't have a situation where maybe Kelly didn't get the point, but Shannon did. And Shannon says, well, how come Kelly didn't get the point that day? Because our employees do talk. Absolutely.
Oh, yes. I have another question.
Yes, Daniel.
Sorry. If an employee transfers from one department to the other, can we access them from the database, or is it?
Yes. So what you'll want to do,
bring them across so we already know
Absolutely.
what they're, okay.
Yes, you will be able to transfer those points over.
Okay.
And I can personally show you how to do that, but that's where your roster is going to come into play.
Mhm.
So if Kelly leaves one department, then that manager is going to delete Kelly out of her system, out of her roster. And then you're going to add Kelly to your roster.
Right.
Right. And then we're going to show you how to transfer those points over.
Okay,
Yeah,
but if they
so-
delete it from their roster, it's still in a database somewhere that it's not lost.
It's going to transfer before you delete them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
My call center.
Yes. Yes, from cost center to cost center. So. Okay, so any more questions? Please, I'm here to answer them if you have any. This is the time. You guys did
I
a
have a
great
quick
job.
question,
Yes,
kind of piggybacking off of what Daniel just said. So say, I'll just go with Kelly. So say she's gone to a different department. Now, does that manager need to wait and delete her off after, or can she go ahead and delete her off after it's been added to the new roster?
Correct. So if it's Patrick and Kelly is going to Shannon's call center, the two managers are going to be discussing because that's going to be a lateral transfer anyway. And so they're going to be able to communicate with each other, and Shannon's going to say, oh, Kelly has 4 points. Wow, let's take a look. Maybe we're going to discuss them for a few minutes to see if there's some type of pattern or trend. And then those points are going to be transferred over. And then Patrick would be able then to delete Kelly off of his roster.
Oh, okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Great questions. Okay, so I know we've done a lot of Q&A. Is there any last questions that I can help you guys answer today? I know this will take a little bit of time to get used to, And so, of course, I'm here for you if you need any help.
I'm excited. This will be a great tool to be able to use.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's going to make it easier for you guys and you're going to get less pushback from your employees, less questions from your employees as well. My recommendation is that you do this at the end of every pay period. And that just becomes a habit because that's usually when we're putting our points in anyway, is on the pay period. So if you're able to just provide this information to your employees, it will probably make them very happy. Right? And we're also holding them accountable when you're able to provide it, which is what we want to do. So these are just some references. If you'd like a copy of the PowerPoint for reference, I'm happy to send it to you. Of course, you guys know where I sit. So if you have questions, if you would like some one-on-one training, I'm happy to do that as well. But I would just like to thank you guys for attending. I know this was during your lunch hour, so if you want to take some extra snacks with you, please do. And thank you very much.
Thank
Very
you.
good, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sydney.
Bravo.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Oh,